everybody. Thank you, everybody, for participating. I just have the distinct pleasure of introducing Hal Cohen to speak to you all as you eat your lunch today. But first, a little bit about myself. My name is Simeon Chapin. I'm the Director of Community and Social Development at VSECU. And before I introduce Hal Cohen, I just want to take a few moments to share with you some thanks and gratitude. A little bit about my personal story, why I will be here, and then also why VSECU is here at this conference. First, the gratitude for all of your passion and skill and raw effort that you put into your work every single day to feeding our neighbors, community members, and yes, our families and our friends. Smita, amazing speaker earlier today. So everyone give a round of applause for Smita. Part of the session that she did was really imploring us to share our personal stories, so I'm going to do a little bit of that. At 8 years old, my parents divorced, and my mom, raising 2 kids, found the need to utilize food assistance at that time. My sister and I understood that money and food was scarce, but we were taken care of, and our mother was able to find those resources to provide for us. Now, we weren't on food assistance for very long, thankfully, but this is a story that is all too common, and we all have seen this in our own lives and the lives of the people that we love. I don't know what it would have been like if we hadn't have had that food assistance. It would have been a very different time of our lives. So, we're all here because we know this epidemic is just so large, and so we're all here to do this work together. And again, this gratitude. So why am I here in front of you today? What gives me this privilege? Which it is, a distinct privilege to be here with all of you. Well, I can tell you, I never actually thought I'd be working for a financial institution. Very different place for me. I have to tell you that VSECU, to me and to many others, it's much more than just that. It's much more than a financial institution. I joined VSECU about a year ago, as I said, as the Director of Community and Social Development, because I saw something that was evolving there, something that was changing. Yes, VSECU is a member-owned cooperative, not-for-profit credit union. We have nearly 60,000 members throughout the state, and it's open to everyone who lives or works here. But we have a greater mission than just providing products and services. Our mission is to improve the quality of life for all Vermonters. We take that very seriously and working to see what we can do to move these needles. What is maturing now at VSECU is this vision that I saw developing and why I joined. And this vision is to inspire a movement that brings people together to empower the possibilities for financial, social, and environmental prosperity. Social impact is becoming one of our measurements of our success. And helping to fight and end hunger remains one of our core areas of focus. We believe that when we enhance our members' communities, they're working on things like food justice, environmental safety, shelter, housing, we enhance their lives, our members' lives, and the lives of their neighbors and friends. Now, of course, we can't do this alone. And as a cooperative, we know that the outcome is better and more durable, more sustainable when we do it together with others. Our multi-year partnership with the Vermont Foodbank is just one example of how our mission is realized when we stand together with others to make impact. There's other examples in the room, other community action agencies, Champlain Food Shelf, Food Shelf. We're constantly looking for partnerships that enable these resources and the scale of VSECU to bear on making a difference in our state. As the largest statewide credit union, we're in a unique position to bring people together across the state. So it's our hope that you will look to VSECU as a partner. We can reach out, we implore you to reach out to see how we can work together. We'd love to learn more about the projects you're working on and how we can help you move forward in the fight to end hunger, to make impact together. So again, thank you for your vision and dedication to ending hunger in our state. And gratitude from me personally, but also from all of the members of VSECU. And now it's my pleasure. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Secretary Hal Cohen. Secretary of the Vermont Agency of Human Services. A little bit about Hal. He was appointed Secretary in January of 2015, building upon a long and distinguished history in human services and anti-poverty work. Most recently as the Executive Director of Capstone Community Action Agency in Central Vermont for over 18 years. No doubt many of you here in this room have worked alongside him over this time. What you might not know about him is that before that, Hal worked in residential care for high-risk kids as a mental health clinician and also in drug and alcohol rehabilitation. Hal is a tireless advocate for prevention and for prevention programs, building strong and self-reliant individuals, investing in asset development, both financial and emotional, focusing on the youngest and most vulnerable members of the community, all that creates a human services net that protects in times of need and supports and affirms in times of plenty. He has contributed to a number of local and state boards, including the Vermont Council on Rural Development, the Vermont Workforce Development Council, Central Vermont Hunger Task Force, and the Vermont Low Income Trust for Electricity. Please join me in welcoming Secretary Hal Cohen.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Good afternoon. That was a nice meal, a good, healthy meal. All right. First of all, thank you, Simeon, for that very nice introduction. And also, you know, VSECU is really a wonderful partner in our community in so many different ways. And we're very lucky to have a credit union like VSECU. And full disclosure, I've been a member for 20 years, and it's been a really good relationship. Also, we have one of the, I think, best food banks in the nation. And I think in particular, the leadership of John Sales has really made a difference and has really grown the food bank in a really beautiful way. You know, when I started at Community Action, and it is, I can't believe, like 20 years ago, pretty much, it would have been, if I still was there, it would have been 20 years July 1st. So it's a long time. When I came into Community Action, one of the things going on was I came into an agency, was having some issues, it hadn't had an executive director for like 7 months, and one of the things that was going on is the agency had adopted something called Family Economic Development. And Family Economic Development is really a relationship model. It's about intensive case management. It's really a fantastic program. And in fact, I think Family Economic Development, the basis of it, really has informed a lot of the work that we're doing today. But what was happening at Community Action back then, which was called Central Vermont Community Action, was that they took it as a policy to the extreme. And what I mean by that is they had decided that emergency services, hunger services, food shelf was a Band-Aid type of service, and that the agency wanted to focus on the root causes of poverty and moving people out of poverty. And I think, you know, when you look at that, that's a tremendous mission, right? But there were two unintended consequences as a result of that. One is the agency thought that the community would pick up those services. And actually, that didn't really happen. By closing the food shelves, people weren't getting food. In one of our counties at that time, in Orange County, the churches did pick it up, and even today are still doing a good job. But in Washington County and Lamoille County, nobody really picked up the work of the food shelf. And the other unintended consequence was that the food shelf in many ways is a gateway type of program. And we weren't getting people coming into Community Action to receive services. So our foot traffic really slowed down. You know, and what we learned from this is that in order to help move a family out of poverty, right? In order to do that, we first have to meet basic needs. You know, if an individual, if a family is homeless, is cold, is hungry, there's no way that they're going to be able to really focus on moving out of poverty. So the first thing we need to do is meet those basic needs. So this is actually in 1996, we reopened 2 of our food shelves. And those food shelves today have served and continue to serve thousands of central Vermonters and really make a big difference in the lives of those people. And the work that all of you do in meeting the basic needs of low-income people are so important. And in many ways, it is the first step towards helping people to move out of poverty. You know, according to the USDA, 13% of Vermont households are food insecure. And that adds up to almost 80,000 Vermonters, 20,000 of whom are under the age of 18. And 6% of those families not only are food insecure, but are also hungry. You know, we also know how important nutrition is, and for our children, for families. We know the negative effects of hunger and food insecurity can have on childhood development and on physical and mental health and academic performance. When I was on the Governor Douglas's task force on hunger a number of years ago. And at that time, one of the members was the Foodbank director before John. And I had actually a really big fight with her around food and food shelves. And the fight was about, was it appropriate to stock Fruit Loops in food shelves? And I won't go into all that happened, and I got called a few names that I was really surprised about, and we were always good friends, and I don't know if she ever forgave me for that. But I think, you know, from that time, we've come a really long way. And today, we really recognize how important nutrition is and how important it is to give families healthy choices. You know, today we're seeing more and more fresh food go into food shelves. We're seeing organic food and whole grain foods, and I think, you know, this is really important. At AHS, we're about to initiate a new program through the Vermont Department of Health, and it's called 3-4-50. And 3 stands for 3 behaviors: lack of physical activity, poor nutrition, and tobacco use, which leads to 4 chronic diseases: lung disease, which would be like asthma and COPD, diabetes and prediabetes, cancer, and cardiovascular disease. And this results in 50% of the deaths that happen in Vermont. And in fact, in Vermont, 55% of Vermonters who die as a result of one of those 4 chronic diseases. You know, when we look at low-income community, I really think it's much more than behavior. In fact, it's really about resources, right? People want to eat healthily. People want fresh food. Wherever we're able to provide fresh food, people eat it up, right? So it really is about resources. So at the agency and across other state agencies, we're to this initiative, this 3-4-50, we're going to be supporting community gardens, where we will be supporting our farm to farm to table? You know, and the vouchers that we give to be able to go to farmers markets. We'll be supporting farmers markets, and we'll be supporting ways to increase access to healthy foods. You know, when we look at hunger in Vermont, and actually anywhere, hunger and food security, you know, we have to ask why. Why is that going on in such a rich nation, right? And if you Google the causes of hunger, what comes up are things, you know, you imagine. War, drought, which causes famine, poor agricultural policies. But the top reason that people experience hunger in the world is really a common denominator to the reason here in Vermont, and that is poverty. And it's something that we always have to keep in mind as the root cause. Most often poverty goes hand in hand with hunger. Poverty causes hunger, and the inverse is also true. Hunger causes poverty. For an individual or a family, those challenges can seem insurmountable and overwhelming. We know that food is the most flexible thing on anybody's budget, right? We know, especially for low-income people, if they don't pay their rent, they could wind up in the streets, right? If they don't pay for gas, or if they don't maintain their cars, they can't get to work. For people with certain health issues, they can put off some of that treatment, at least temporarily. And that is why that food then is such a flexible thing on somebody's budget. You can always eat less nutritious, cheaper foods, processed foods. You can skip a meal. We know so often that parents skip meals so that their children can have meals. And what we're doing at the Agency of Human Services is to make sure that people don't have to make that choice between food and housing and transportation and health care. We, together with you, have to have a really strong safety net, one that's adequate and one that ensures that people aren't going to go hungry. We have, great 3 Square Meals program, our food stamp program. We have our WIC program for young mothers. And in fact, just over the last month, we've moved our WIC program from a delivery program to an EBT type program where families can now go and shop and can choose what foods they need. So instead of getting 10 gallons of milk, they'll buy 1 gallon of milk and be able to get, other food items. Our other programs also make a difference around hunger, right? If you're in Reach Up, you're getting a certain cash allowance. That helps. If you're a LIHEAP recipient, if you get weatherization, if you have housing supports, all of those things add to the overall well-being of a family and ensure that families have resources to meet their hunger needs, their food needs for their families. Besides these emergency services, AHS is also working on the activities that we can do with you to help move people out of poverty. So we're doing things like supportive housing, our Reach Up programs, doing workforce development. We have our voc rehab program. All of these things help to move people out of poverty. One of the programs that I really love, and I had the honor and privilege to be a part of, is the Community Kitchen Academy. What an incredible program in Burlington, in Capstone Community Action, and I don't know, are we starting it, I hope, in other communities, but it's tough to do. But when you think about it, having a Community Kitchen Academy attached to a food shelf is such a perfect thing. You get folks, low-income folks, who will get training in the culinary arts, which will lead to livable wage jobs and moving out of poverty. And in the process, they're using food shelf food to make prepared meals that they then can serve to folks coming in for those foods. That's a great example of community partnership that really is making a difference. One of the other added challenges that impacts poverty, impacts hunger, is our opiate problem, our opiate crisis. Opiate addiction is devastating, really, our community. 2 years ago, it's actually 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, Governor Shumlin, I think in a very bold way and very brave way, announced that Vermont, beautiful Vermont, had this problem. At that time, we had about 1,500 people in substance abuse treatment. Today, we have around 6,000. So we've made great strides, but it also shows what the problem is. And we still have a waiting list of about 500 people. Some of the things that we're doing to address that is we're opening up a new hub that's medication-assisted treatment in St. Albans. And we're hoping that that'll knock our waiting list down by about 250. One of the other things that addiction has done, that opiate addiction has done, it's really impacted our children. We're finding now we have over a 30% increase of the number of young children between 0 and 5 who are coming into DCF custody. Of those children, 80% are coming from families with opiate addictions. So this is a really serious problem. Some of the things that we're doing about it, and I just got word last night the budget was passed out of the conference committee, and it looks like they have restored all of the money that we had requested for additional social workers and also for drug and alcohol screeners. You know, all of this work, it contributes also to reducing and eliminating hunger in our community. You know, there's also a lot of good news, okay? You know, Vermont, sometimes when we look really hard on each other, but in a way, first of all, we're the second healthiest state in the nation when you look at different indicators. That doesn't mean that everybody's in good shape, but as a whole state, we are the second healthiest state next to Hawaii. And I think the only reason Hawaii beats us out, not because of their beautiful beaches, but because they have a more robust vaccination program. They're less libertarian there than we are. So that's, but I keep talking to Commissioner Chen, how do we get to be #1? And he's trying. We have an unemployment rate of one of the lowest in the nation, 3.4%. We have, I think it's tied with Massachusetts, the lowest uninsured rate in the nation, 3.2%. We have our LIHEAP program, our Reach Out program, our 3 Squares program. All of them are seeing less people signing up for those programs. And homelessness, we started an initiative with the governor a little over a year ago on ending homelessness by 2020. And we've done a number of things to attack homelessness. And we have had the largest reduction in homelessness in any one year. We've reduced homelessness by 28%. Now again, that doesn't mean there's not a serious problem, but we are making some real strides in all of those areas. So I guess I would end by saying that, you know, there is hope, right? And the work that all of you are doing is making a difference. We are seeing people better off. Again, that doesn't mean that all Vermonters are better off. That doesn't mean that we don't have a lot of work to do. But you should be really pleased and proud of yourselves for the work that you are doing. And I just want to tell you that I'm really committed to this work and committed, as long as I'm in this position, to be partnering with all of you to end hunger in our state. Thanks a lot.